Good morning, my friends. Welcome to our New Testament challenge. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some thoughts and reflections from the 5th chapter of the book of First Timothy. First Timothy chapter 5. So Paul is writing some words to his protege, the young man that he is mentoring, Timothy. And in chapter 5, he talks about how Timothy, and hence us, should treat other people depending on their age. He says, don't speak harshly to an older man. Speak to him as a father. Speak to a younger man as a son or brother. Older women as mothers. Younger women as sisters. Treat them as family. Honor widows who are really widows. And he spends a good bit of time talking about that. And I think there are different words being used, different understandings being used here. A widow in this instant is not merely someone whose husband has died. That is part of all this, but there are other understandings as well. If a widow has children or grandchildren, okay, if they have family, and a lot of our widows do, then that family ought to take care of that widow. Because again, back then, there was no retirement. The husband cared for his wife, and when a woman was not able to work, able to care for herself, so she needed someone else to take care of her. And so usually, or supposed to be, if she has children and grandchildren, they take care of her. And he talks about that as well. He said, hey, if you don't take care of your family, what does he say? Whoever does not provide for relatives, and especially for family members, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Because the church, when you talk about caring for widows and orphans, the widows they're talking about is women who have no one else. Absolutely no one else. And so we are called to care for them because they don't have a husband, they don't have children, they don't have grandchildren, they don't have any other relatives that will care for them. That's when the church steps in. And talks about a real widow sets her hope on God and continues in supplication and prayers night and day. And so this widow has a job, has a calling. Okay, again, different types of widows, different understandings of this. The widow he's talking about here is the one who now is able to commit themselves to prayer, and which is vitally important to the ministry of the church, to have people who are committed to praying night and day as their number one priority. A widow is someone who can do that. Knowing that their food and their roof and their shelter is taken care of, they can commit themselves to prayer. He talks about putting the widow on the list, depending on the age, not less than 60 years old, been married only once, attested for good works. Again, there's some descriptions here. Don't put younger widows on the list, this list. They've still got opportunities to do other things. They don't need to be idle. They don't need to be gossiping. They have opportunities to do something for the church, something for God. Let the elders who teach be considered worthy of honor. Do not ordain anyone hastily. No longer, I like this. No longer drink only water. Take a little wine for your stomach. So a lot of this is just practical, how to deal with people types of advice. And even though it's Paul speaking to Timothy specifically, there's a lot of this that can be applied to how we treat. And here is specifically people within the church. So how do we treat widows? How do we treat young widows, older widows? How do we treat women? How do we treat men? How do we treat younger men? How do we deal with that? And that's important to know that we need to have these things. So hopefully this helps. Take care, my friends, and we'll talk again with you tomorrow.